Hello everybody, I am excited to welcome you. We're going to be making not one but two cards, and we're going to use a couple different techniques on these cards too. I am Joanne Rogers. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. So I'm hoping that you're ready to learn a couple techniques. I would love for you to make these designs or something like these designs and post them into the comments, or post them just into say our VIPs page, or just on our business page, which is where this is coming from. As I said earlier, what we're going to be doing, we're doing some techniques, and we are going to be making two cards, but there are very, very, very minimal supplies for this. Really, all we're going to be using are two pieces of thick basic white cardstock, and then everything else is the technique in order to decorate the card. So you may not have the supplies for this. You might have the supplies, but you might have something that will work just as well. So what are we using tonight? We're going to be using a couple different things, but we're going to start with the split card textures. Now, the split card textures dies are an item that's in the annual catalog, but they sort of get hidden a little bit. And the reason why is because there isn't a stamp set that goes along with this. So if you're wondering where this is, let me pull up my catalog. So the best place always to find dies, of course, is in the back of the catalog, where it just is dies. And so if you come along here, we have all of the bundles, the die bundles, and then we have just dies by themselves. And there's a few of them that do not have any stamp sets. And so this, for instance, is one that doesn't have a stamp set. This one here, the brush shapes. And I have a card to show you that I received a little while ago now, but this is from my friend Lillian, just to show you this particular set of dies. And she created a really colorful card with the hearts. And I got this about just before Valentine's. And she's used a little bit of, I think it's white craft ink here, and splattered to get you a few little dots. But it's a beautiful card, and it shows you those dies. Now, some of the other dies, the one that is in another one is this fancy frames. So the fancy frames, I'm on page 171 of the catalog. These also do not have a stamp set with them. And I do have this set of dies, and I haven't used them all that much. So if you'd like for me to play with those, maybe just put a comment, leave a comment in there, because if you'd like to see it in use. So the one that we're looking for is the split textures, and these are all in alphabetical order. So it is right here. And when they don't have a stamp set, usually it says here, so this one here coordinates with the Christmas season stamp set and the Christmas to Remember stamp set, and then this is the page. If they don't have a set of stamps, see these dies in use on page 86. So that's where we need to go. We go to page 86, and there's only one sample here with these dies. So they show the dies and they show the sample. So if you happen to not look on the left side of the catalog, and I'm guilty of that, you might have missed these. Okay, so enough talking about them. Let's see them. So there are two dies in this set, and there's one that has sort of it almost reminds me a bit of daisies. And I don't know, am I talking through my hat there? Am I seeing things that aren't there? There's that decoration, and then there's this one that also looks a little bit like a plaid, sort of like a lattice kind of look. We are going to go with the lattice tonight. Now, I've already cut that out. So for this, you just want a piece of scrap cardstock, and this just happens, this is a retired set. This one was the, is this Pretty Pink? I can't remember the name of that one now. And so I did cut both of them, but that's what it looks like when it's cut out, so that you can see it on the white. It really is a beautiful, both of them are just wonderful. So we're going to use this one tonight. This one will be for another purpose. Okay, so what we need to do is figure out which one of these is the lightest. I think probably this one is the lightest, which is Fresh Freesia, Highland Heather, and then Blackberry Bliss is our darkest. And these are our purples. So we are going to use one of our pieces of cardstock, and I do have two. And we are going to, let me just bring in a scrap piece of paper here. This actually is. So I try and get a good use out of stuff here. This is one of these guys, and I've just folded in half. So let's just put it here. I'm going to open these up. Okay, so what I need is, I should pull this in and show you. So this is, now that I have it not quite set up properly, so this is the holder for the blending brushes. So you can fit 9 brushes in here. That's all I have. Now, one thing to note is that these fit in here, but they can fall out fairly easily. So just to show you sort of a close-up of what happens. So the brush goes in here, and then the tip of it goes down at the bottom. And so if you don't happen to hit that tip exactly right, it may not sit in there perfectly. So it's not one that you see just like that. So it's not something that is portable and can move around without being a little bit frustrating for you. So just know that if you are interested in getting one, I do like how they sit, and I've got all my little flowers with the colors on the back. This seems to do me really well. I just added 3 additional ones not all that long ago, actually. So we're going to use mainly our purple, but I think I'm going to go in with the pink a little bit for the fresh freesia. Okay, so let's actually do some blending. So this is our first technique. So when you're blending, you want to pick up your ink, and this is a lighter ink. You want to tap it off, and then you want to blend. And I'm going to blend right over top of my template, and I'm going to try not to go over top of where the white and the pink goes. Now I could have made my piece of paper exactly the same size and then not worried about that. But this one, because it was a scrap, is just a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to be careful. So pick up your color, tap it off here so that you can get rid of any little dots, and then just lightly swirl it right over top. Now, one thing I could do, and maybe I will do, let me hold on to that like this. I am going to take a piece of my low tack tape, and I'm just going to hold this in place. Okay. I don't want that to be moving around, and I really don't want to have to hold it all that much. Make sure I'm in the right spot. There we go. Okay, let's keep going. So now I'm not going to put that all in one place. I want it to be in a couple different places. So even though you can't really see through it here, I know that I'm giving some color. So you're going to go all over. You want to cover all of those little squares. Okay, and you want to try and do it as softly as you can. So you can see I'm a little darker there, perhaps than there, but that's okay, it doesn't matter. We're doing art today. Yay! So now I'm going to go into my Highland Heather. I'm going to tap that off, and I'm going to do the same thing. So we're just blending with our blending brushes. So these brushes have hundreds of little fibers that are in a curved shape. There's lots of them in there, and they catch the color beautifully and transfer it onto your paper, so it's a beautiful soft look. Okay, so we're going to do 3 different grades of purple onto our card, and that will be a lovely card for, say, Easter. So you do want to get all of them, or try and get all of them. Go around all the edges. Sometimes I have to remind myself exactly what I'm trying to pick up. I usually go in circles. Sometimes I go back and forth if I'm just trying not to get that edge there. So now I'm going to go right into my Blackberry Bliss. It's my darkest color, and I'm going to be quite soft with that. So I'm not going to pick up quite as much, and make sure I take it off before I go in and color. So you can see the different color here. It is a beautiful color. How many people love Blackberry Bliss? Blackberry Bliss is a lot of people's favorites. Try and get that little square right up there. I can go right over because I've got that. Oh, and I see I did go over. Oh well, won't be the end of the world. Okay. And that's just it with paper crafting. I think some of us think, oh, it's got to be perfect, absolutely perfect. When you want to take off a little bit of color, just go onto a clean area and just roll it around and around and around until you get rid of some of that color. But you can see there's not all that much coming off, and I've pressed it quite hard. So I'm going to go in just with a little bit more of my fresh freesia, anywhere where I think there isn't any color, but we've got it covered quite well. So you can create a template like this out of anything. So if you have a detailed die of a flower or leaves, it's going to do the exact same thing for you. Okay, so you can see as well that we have colored the light pink. So I'm going to take this off now. You're going to see a little bit of my color on the outside edges, but what we have is this done. So, you know, you can always cut this out if that bothers you. That's not so bad for me, actually. It looks like it frames it a little bit. It's sort of cool. Okay, so that is our one technique. Super easy. Anybody can do it. So what you're doing is you have a template of some kind, a template, however you want to say it, and you are blending over top of it and through it. And the purples are beautiful. Okay, so we're going to finish these later. We're going to go on to the second technique now. The next technique is one that you may have seen, but maybe you haven't seen it for a while, or maybe you even have some of this and you haven't used it for a while. So this is our embossing paste, and if you have never tried the embossing paste, I keep it in the plastic bag that it comes in. It has a screw, it comes in a little jar, and it's just called embossing paste. Avoid contact with eyes, so it does have something in there that is not good for us. And then it also has a foil lid on it. So the foil lid comes off, and then you have paste. Now, if you have purchased this and you haven't used it for a while, like me, you may need to actually reconstitute it because it does dry out in there. And when it dries out, you don't have to throw it away. You can just take it, add a little bit of plain water. Distilled water would probably be best, but if you don't have it, you can add your tap water, and then you just mix it around. So with the paste, you're going to want to pick yourself up some of the palettes as well, the palette knives. And I tend to use this one the most and this one the most. Let me get it out here. These two. I find this one's just a little bit small, but if you're getting into a small area, it'd be great. Look, you can see I have glitter on there. Boy, glitter goes everywhere. And so this is the one I tend to use the most. So you can see that this is actually soft. So this, though, dries pretty quickly. And so you would never want to leave your tool in it like this. So let's grab our next piece. And on this one, I think I'm going to put it on this side. So I'm going to go down here, or I could turn it over. I think, do I want to turn it over? No, I don't want to turn it over. I'm going to put this on so I have a little bit of a border. And then I lost my other tape, so I'm going to put another piece of tape on just so it doesn't move around. Now you can add color to this if you want. Just take your re-inker and add some. So you want to start with less rather than more, because you want as thin a layer as possible. So it's going to go right over top. And the cool thing that I found here, and I'm hoping that you can see it, actually I'm going to go like this. So you just want to lay it right over top and scoop it right into place. It is picking up the color of what we just did with our blending brushes. So it's picking up the purples and the pinks. Actually, it's making it look sort of pink. And so you can go right back in here. It's going to leave a little bit of pink there, but that's okay. And so you want as thin as you can get it. And on this stuff, it's texture that you're going for. It's just a really cool kind of look. And so if you miss some, no worries at all. It doesn't matter at all. So I'm going to try and get it everywhere. I've covered everything. If I hadn't been worried quite so much about covering everything, that would have taken me a lot less time. So we're going to take off as much as we can. I could put this right back into the jar, but then it's going to be pink. So this might just be something that I'm going to chuck away the remainder on here. So you can cap your jar if you're done with it. Let me pull that up so that you can see. So I put my silicone craft sheets just so that if I get anything on there, it's easy to get off. Now I'm hoping that you can see that sitting on there. It doesn't really look like much right now. We are going to just leave that for a moment. You want to clean off your palette knives. So similar to having to clean off your templates, you want to clean off your palette knives. So I've just got a wet one here. So just go ahead and clean that right off. If you don't, it will be permanent on there. It'll dry on there and it will be there for good, and you don't want that. Now, if I left my paper there, similarly, if I left this cardstock there, it would dry to it. So we don't want to do that. So we want to lift this off, and there's what we have left. Okay, so we're going to have, almost looks a little bit like a brick wall, I think, doesn't it? So while it's still wet, you can go in there and pick up just a little bit. I had a tiny little bit there, so you can pick that up. So set that aside. Where is the hello? There it is. Okay, so there, that's, I've got a big block for that little hello. Okay, so I'm going to use the little squares on here. We are going to go with our lightest color. So here's another technique for you. So we're going with a little bit of the fresh freesia and just get that all over. And then I'm going to put some of the Highland Heather on there. And I'm just going to dot it on. Not everywhere, just in a few places. And it's just going to add a little bit of color, a little bit of darkness in there. Okay, so we can go hello down here, hello up there. I'm going to say, I'm going to make the decision here, and we're going to put the hello down here. Okay, so here, there you can see that you've got the mix of colors. Now you can do that hello in a couple different ways. You can do it with markers. If you have markers, you can do it that way. You can do it just with the stamp pads like I did, or you can do the stamp pads and then you can take your sponge daubers and dab them into your darker. Okay, so there's our hello. Now we might want to just fancy that up a tiny little bit. And so the butterfly, I'm going to give the butterfly just a little bit of dimension. So I cut this with our brushed metallic. There's this is the gold, not the rose gold. It comes in 2 colors in that package. Now with your bone folder, you can make the what are those? Wings. I was going to call them leaves. They're not leaves. They're wings. You can give them just a little bit of shape by just sort of lightly. So I'm not doing this very heavy. Just give it a little bit of a curve. And so I'm moving the tips up and I'm curving the body sort of down. Okay, and then I'm going to put a dimensional in the middle, a little mini dimensional. Find one here. And let's take this guy here, and he will just fit right in the middle. So now let's sort of decide, where is he going to go? So there's where our hello is going. And do we need one more little gold? Let's see. And I'm just going to do a cutesy thing. I'm going to attach it, but I do think we probably need to have another one somewhere. So now with this one, because it's lighter, I found with this one, and because it's actually got a little bit more pink in it, I found that I liked it better just by doing a solid color. So I'm just going all one color for the blackberry. So again, I'm going to place this. I'm going to do my thanks. I think we're going to, well, let's see. Where do we think we might want to put this guy? Now, one thing that you can't really do over top of paste is stamp with it. So you want to do your stamping somewhere else. So we do need, because this is fairly large, I want to stamp and think about my placement here. So I'm going to, I think, if I do that, that might work. Okay, so I'm going to stamp my thanks fairly near the top. right up here. Hopefully that's going straight. Can't really see it. Oh, and you know what? I got a bit of an ombre look going on there. I'm going to also go for the dimensionals on this one for the minis. Now, what I am going to do after I take these off is I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue on it. So I've just got myself a little squeeze bottle so that I can just get some precision on there. This tiny bit of liquid glue. And then we're going to put that right over top. Okay, so I think that it was somewhere there. I'm going to have it go a little bit on the white, but mostly over top. Yeah, that's not quite dry yet, so I'm going to have to probably give that another little bit of glue next time. I'm going to go for that small guy again. Picked up one right there. There's a guy there. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, and let's see. What about this big guy? Can we do this big guy over here? I wonder if he's going to look good there. I'm going to put him down here, and I might need to add a little bit of glue to that later too. But I think I can get another one here. I think perhaps where I couldn't last time, I can this time. I think it actually is a little bit better. Now I'm going to hold that up so you can see it a little bit closer, because I can see that it loses a little bit of its charm here. Okay, so there it is there. And then here's the other one, so that you can just see that we created two cards with a couple different techniques, but really using the same amount of ink. So sort of a cool way to play with your stuff. And this was the two that I made. So this one I actually ended up cutting it out and putting it onto another piece of cardstock, but I did the same thing here with the I actually think I might have even done 3 colors of ink here on the thanks, but the same little butterfly, and then you can see how much lighter this one is. And I should hold that up a little bit, and I did miss out, but it's rough. So it's got a rough texture, but it's quite cool. It makes you want to come in and touch it. And you can see that there's even some little spots where it's darker than others, and just the flirty flamingo there. So that was the first one. And then let me show you a way that you can amp it up just a little. So taking those 2 ideas, here's this one here. So all I did here was add some layers of color in behind using colors. So this is the soft saffron and flirty flamingo, stamped with flirty flamingo, and just put one of the flower trinkets. Very, very simple, because there's a lot going on in here. So I wanted this one to be simpler. And then with what was left, I did not try and get it in all of the spots. I just went very quickly over top. It's much lighter, and so I went with a little bit of lighter ink, and also I'm using here a Blushing Bride, which isn't even one of the colors, and then Pale Papaya. Okay, so there's 2 ways that you can also sort of dress them up a little bit. Thank you very much, and I really do appreciate it. Share this video with others. Welcome, invite others to come and play along with us, and I hope that you have an opportunity to play using one or both or all of these techniques. Have a great night. Bye-bye.